Constantly shifting through the time-space continuum, Metron's three disciples observe the universe from the Mobius Couch.
It's been 2 weeks since the last episode. People of the world, welcome back to the Mobius Couch, a time-space interdimensional vehicle where your three hosts survey the world of comics, comic book movies, and other related media. Welcome back. I'm one of your three hosts. I'm Alessandro, and joining me as usual are Patrick.
Hey, everyone.
And Joe.
Hey-o. Hey, Al.
Hey, everybody. Smooth introductions. We did it.
You're also Candy Hands. I mean, we could tell you that.
I don't know how well inside jokes play.
You did it yourself. You reminded me of it yourself. It's your own fault.
I mean, this is a vast international audience that hasn't been initiated into the inside
Oh,
jokes.
Candy Hands Allegranzi.
All right. Well, we're here to talk Little Strange Adventures.
Yeah.
Second half of Strange Adventures.
I'm excited.
Yeah, we've already done an episode where we talked about half one, and now we're going to do the second half because it's officially over. It's over. Yeah, we did bound in a hardback edition.
1 through 6, and then and tonight we're doing 7 through 12. I think I'm more excited about this because it obviously is the conclusion. However, and also I was like a few issues ahead of you guys from 1 through 6, and I kept having to be like, shit, am I spoiling something? No. Okay, I'm all right. You know, like constantly pulling back what I was about to say and like double checking that. Wait, was that from issue 6 or 8? You know, like kind of thing. Yeah, I'm excited.
That is
we're all on the same page now.
Well, a strong point to make, listeners. If you haven't read this and don't want to be spoiled, hang up immediately because we will spoil this.
Because it's a phone call
or whatever.
Hang up the
press
podcast.
Stop. Well, you can't even press stop. I don't know how you
just hang up the podcast.
Whatever. Close the app. Whatever you need to do a podcast. Just
pull the phone cord
now.
Out of the wall. Stop listening to this podcast.
Tear out your car radio. Throw it out the window. Why don't we give general takes of what we thought of this and let that lead? So I'll start because I like to make things about me. So I'll start. So I enjoyed the series as a whole. This is something we were talking about async, kind of off this podcast on our little chat thread. Seeing it as a whole product, it was kind of interesting the parallels this had with Mr. Miracle, the other Tom King, Mitch Gerads. We did also, side note, we found out how to pronounce Mitch's last name. It's not Gerads, it's Gerads.
I mean, we were close.
Gerads. I don't think so. I think we were way off.
Soft G, that's all we had wrong?
We were calling him Gerads.
Gerads. Oh, yeah. He went to Gerads.
Nonsense.
Right. So
I was saying Gerads the whole time. You're crazy.
Okay. Anyway, we did find out it's Mitch Gerads.
Yeah.
Gerads. Back to there were really interesting parallels with this series and Mr. Miracle, and also kind of directionally opposed parallels. I felt like, in a sense, Mr. Miracle was about Scott's journey from suicide and giving up to finding meaning, and more specifically, in the middle of a horrible war, finding meaning in his family. And Strange Adventures is kind of the opposite journey of Adam, who starts with everything, starts with a family and hope and all that, and through the war loses that. And then it all kind of comes to a head. Like the climax of Mr. Miracle is him choosing basically not to give up his child to end a war. And as we find out in Strange Adventures, Adam does the opposite and does give up his child to end a war. I mean, the specifics are different, but I still just found a lot of interesting parallels of how like the two characters basically kind of their arcs go right against each other in like opposite directions.
But I hadn't previously thought of that until you brought it up earlier, and I was like, "Wow, that's fucking good job, good analysis."
Well, I don't know if that was intention. I mean, that's kind of what I saw. I don't know if maybe I'm reading too much.
I think it's pretty valid. I mean, it's that's pretty straightforward in terms of like at least the plots on the surface.
Oh yeah, but anyway, to sum it up real quick so that other people could speak. I thought it was a great series. I liked the use of both artists doing the kind of different timelines. Just enjoyed it. I thought it was a good read. So thumbs up for me. That's my general take on Strange Adventures.
I loved it. Everything about it is great. On the second read through, we were talking about this earlier, just that Shaner's art I mean, it was already good, but the second read through, I just love it even more than I did before. And I think he's probably now in my top 3, probably, I would say. Like, I think it's at the point where if I saw a random
top
his
3
name on it, I'd probably just grab it without even really knowing what it's about.
Actually, you know, that's fair. I would definitely do that. I don't know if he's in my top 3, but I would definitely do that. He's fantastic.
The story's great, and I thought the whole thing with his daughter, that was satisfying. But my big point is I like Tom King because he really does a lot of character work, and the representations of Mr. Terrific and Alana, I'm completely obsessed with. But Alana also, we were speaking in the last episode of Strange Adventures, I think, we brought up how we were trying to name like a smart science-based woman in the DC universe.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get us canceled. Let's not have this conversation again.
Well, no, I was just saying, I feel like what they've done with her character is that she is that person, really. Like, I feel like she is this, they've made a very solid female character they've established she's insanely smart from an alien planet. She knows how to fly spaceships and all kinds of alien tech. So I don't know.
Also, Mr. Terrific almost implies that like the legend that is Adam Strange on Ron is really like her kind of the whole time. And I mean, you could say heavily implies, but he definitely implies it. There is also that like at the end, I mean, she's kind of is Adam Strange. Like she leaves her daughter on Earth, so she's going to constantly be coming back to Earth. So she's like the hero of two worlds now. And I guess I didn't like pick up on that, not subtlety, but like there was so much going on in the end that kind of got lost in the but on a second read you're like, oh shit, that's fucking awesome. Anyway,
well, I don't know if it's better to bring this up later, but this arc was kind of like the emancipation of Alana from Adam Strange's shadow, because the first part of it is her kind of, well, the two of them working together, but to sort of build Adam's mythos and build him up as the hero, and she's in the shadow. And then by the end of this, Adam is destroyed as a figure and she's the hero. Like she is the spacefaring hero. And in between, we keep seeing these flashbacks where all the things he was getting credit for, they were frankly doing together. So it's kind of this arc of like from, I don't know, kind of like behind every great man is another great woman to now just the man was a shell. And actually only the great woman is what is standing now.
To your point, Joe, the same thing. I think I was so caught up with learning what happened to Adam Strange's daughter on my first read through. That I wasn't
I was obsessed with that. Yeah,
I wasn't really, I remember thinking like Alana's acting insane. And then on the second read through, I read it more closely and kind of just processed. And there's like a lot of character work happens with her in that last couple pages and between her and Mr. Terrific. And their whole relationship is fascinating because I do feel like Mr. Terrific couldn't piece things together, and we're jumping forward again, but he writes a letter to Alana to let her know that her daughter's alive and like what's really been going on. And he said how he didn't realize what the missing piece was until he saw Alana on TV, like embracing the fact that she did all this terrible stuff pretty much to save her husband. And I think that's when he figured out that Alana's this brilliant woman, but her one weakness is that like she loves Adam and just kind of takes his word for everything.
Yeah, that like there's this repeated line throughout the entire series where she's just like, oh, Adam, you know, like whenever like some random things happen, like, oh, you just committed genocide. Oh, Adam, you know, like kind of thing. And like it gets darker as it moves forward. Like at first you're like, it's kind of like adorable. And she's like, I love you, you dummy. You know, like, but then later on, it's just like, wow, you said that after he did that? That's very weird connotation from that like one line that she keeps repeating throughout the whole thing. And you can see like just by analyzing every time she says that, you can see it would be a specific pinpoint of like the shift in the overall arc of the character.
Sure.
Well, I had a similar reaction, and I'm going to try to say this carefully because I don't want to get all of us canceled. So earlier on, like I'm
uncanceled a while.
Well, I was building up this idea because especially I think in issue 5 or 6, Alana makes some comment. You know, Mr. Terrific said something like, Adam Strange and your dad are the smartest people on Ran. Like, are you as smart? And she said something like, sometimes if you've lapped the field, it looks like you're behind, but you're really ahead. So I was building up this expectation that like the twist was going to be that Alana was really manipulating things in kind of a classically
Yeah, I was definitely
manipulative
half expecting
woman
that, only
archetype
because
sort of thing.
yeah, but only because like Adam is sort of like starts to become portrayed as like, you know, just kind of not the one that has been doing all these things. So like you start to go like, fuck, is he just like some like an idiot patsy and she's actually going to be like dark as fuck by the end of this? So that could have easily gone that direction.
Yeah, but I also, so the thing was like, I had that expectation. So then when it turned out that she actually wasn't plotting and like she was kind of surprised by the twist too, I went to like, oh, well, then never mind. She's not that smart. She's a dummy too. And kind of wrote her off. But then like reading it again, I realized that like her journey was just kind of like a different direction than that. And
I think partly it's blinded by the one you love, you know, like there's definitely like parts of this that where she accepts what he says as truth because he says he's telling her the truth. So like I think some of it is just blind love, you know, like, and she's trying really, really hard to like make the relationship continue to work, and like blissfully ignorant, I suppose, I guess would be the way, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I think Patrick phrased it well earlier when he said that Adam was her weak point, right? Her relationship to Adam,
for sure,
her like putting herself under Adam as a support structure for him was weakening her.
Well, here's where I think it gets interesting, because Mr. Terrific pretty much says that in his letter to Alana. And he has a big respect for Alana and how brilliant she is. And so he writes in his letter that he figured out her blind spot. She does not use her brilliant mind when it comes to Adam Strange. And she even in her flashbacks talks about how the very first time she saw him, it was like love at first sight. So she's kind of
she kind of threw it out. She threw it out the window right then.
Yeah, and then it was interesting because Mr. Terrific kept saying that he didn't figure it all out till he saw her speaking like that, and he remembers how his wife would, you know, defend him. And then he started thinking about, and then here's where I think it's interesting, because I think Mr. Terrific's blind spot was how much respect he had for Alana, kind of, maybe, that because he was like, well, she's blinded by Adam Strange.
Yeah, and he's like, going, well, this still doesn't add up, but I trust this woman because she's so intelligent and she knows what she's fucking doing, and she's demonstrated that multiple times, but he's not factoring in her blind spot. So like, I think that's why he couldn't figure it out, because he was like, I don't fucking understand. Like, you know, like I've got all this evidence and I think she's telling me the truth. And I think he knew she was telling him the truth. And she was, in a way, like, because she was just blind to Adam Strange lying to her. She was like the wedge between him figuring out the truth, because like, he trusted her. So like that added to like this level of like, well, fuck, if she's saying this and I feel like I know that to be true, if she's saying this and the evidence supports it, but there's still all these pieces that don't make sense and nothing. And like, it was that like moment when he's sitting in the bar watching her speak on, it was about the report. And I mean, we can get into that later, but like,
well, we can continue this a little bit later. I did want to just stop and turn the spotlight on Mr. Terrific, I loved everything about him in this. I loved his Jeopardy robots. I love that when he gets a new daughter, the first thing he does is take his shirt off and lift weights next to her. I just like, this man is,
well, he's doing that nonstop anyway, so that's not weird. I think he's just
the best. All he does is just like bench press.
No, what I did love is that Aaliyah is the one reading him the quotes, though. Like, he's not using the robot anymore. Like, she's going, how about, here's one. And she says something out loud, and then he's like,
that's how you build a family. Joe, that's
I thought that was cool. Like, just you just replace robots with human beings.
No, but I love everything about this guy. Yeah, no, this was just,
I know he's
I
really
didn't know much about him. Honestly, I think the only thing
I knew enough, but this takes
Young Justice or whatever.
This Mr. Terrific is on the surface every Mr. Terrific you've ever seen in the comics. I mean, like, he is exactly what he's supposed to be. No one has ever portrayed him as well as this, though. You know, like this highlights every fucking good thing about him, down to what Patty was saying about like just him and Batman are interrogating them. And granted, Mr. Terrific's been like learning the language for like however long now. So like, of course he's better. But like, there's even like a later scene with him and Batman where they're talking about Phoenix or whatever. And he's like, how did you get here before me? Or something like that. Oh no, it was the ship when they captured the guy. Like, they found a downed ship and he knew there was a survivor. Batman knew there was a survivor, but Mr. Terrific was already there. And he's like, The only thing I don't know is how you got here before me, because you had all like apparently because they arrived completely separate of each other. They weren't like talking to each other. They just arrived completely separately, and Batman's like, well, we were both clearly studying the same data set. So that being said, I'm fascinated as to how you got here before me or something like that. And I thought that was
Well,
like
that
more so than the language barrier thing, because Batman had really kind of just started learning the language, but like that was just a perfect highlight of like, you're fucking really on your game if you're beating
but I
Batman
think
to, like a conclusion and getting there before him.
that might go back to that Alana quote I mentioned earlier about like if you've lapped the field, it looks like you're behind. Because earlier in the series, they make a direct reference to Mr. Terrific as the third most intelligent person on Earth, or second. You know,
that's
they make
actually a good
comment.
fucking undertone. Maybe that was intentional and maybe it wasn't, but like I hope it was, because that's fucking awesome. That's a great.
But they made some point to where like Batman is clearly the smartest and Mr. Terrific's number 2 or something like that, or like Mr. Terrific's number 3.
It's always the three smarts are like Lex Luthor, Batman, and Mr. Terrific. They're like the 3 smartest people in the DC universe.
Yeah, but so
and like,
again, but that like
they're smarter in different
ways.
But I feel like and I like if you put it in
might
that context
Mr.
of lapping the field, like maybe Mr. Terrific is
Mr.
smarter than all of them. And I think the evidence is there with that scene that I just pointed out with him getting to the.
Yeah, well, I was going to say
before him.
Mr. Terrific, everything they did with him is fantastic. This is also maybe my favorite version of Batman ever, because I've never seen Batman humbled so many times. Because even flashing back to we talked about in the earlier issues, Alana kind of tricked Batman into taking photos of the paparazzi and using that against him. So like Alana outwitted him at one point. Mr. Terrific, the scene when they're interrogating the Pick Soldier, I mean, Batman does sound like a 3-year-old. And then Mr. Terrific takes over and he's flawless with the language. And the rest of the scenes where they're interrogating the Pick Soldier, Batman is just kind of menacingly like pacing in the background, almost as if he's like realized that he sounds like an idiot and now he's trying to kind of like,
good cop, bad cop. And then he's like, never mind. I shouldn't be leading this. I shouldn't be leading this interrogation. I'll stand in the background and be angry.
And then the whole when Mr. Terrific shows up at the spaceship before Batman, he's like, he's like, oh, we were working off the same data, obviously. Like it was kind of like he was just so flustered that Mr. Terrific got there before him. He was trying to save face, being like,
there's also the physical aspect. Like I mean, I know this is not as a big of a deal, but like he does get randomly shot and Adam Strange like takes him back to during the war or whatever, the fight, and it's just like but they're not doing it to like insult Batman. They're doing it to elevate the other characters. They know we all respect the fuck out of Batman. And that's why Tom King like chooses those moments to be like, hey, you guys all love Batman and you will all have him up on a pedestal because we do. So like, I'm just going to use him as this like this milestone that they can get past, and that's going to just fucking blow them out of the water for your brains. Like it was perfectly.
Well, that's what because one of the things that used to just really annoy me about Mr. Terrific is that his power was he's the 3rd smartest person on the planet. And that was like how he would be introduced. They'd be like, oh, what's his deal? Oh, he's the 3rd smartest person on the planet. And the rest of the storyline, he'd just be at the computers, like randomly doing stuff. And you're like, okay, we get it. He's smart.
Good job. Like, he's the Reed Richards scientist guy that sits in the background that goes like, here's the time platform, and you're like, thanks. Now we can travel through time.
It's like they're always just kind of telling you that he's smart. And Tom King did a great job of being able to just like show you
actually illustrating it. Yes. Finally. Thank you. Like also to Al's note and what we're talking about, like illustrates it in a way that hints that he's actually way smarter than everyone gives him credit for. Like fucking awesome.
I do also want to make +1 to all of that. One note about that scene where they were interrogating the Pict and Batman and his expressions and reactions. To bring this back to, I mean, I don't mean to keep comparing this to Mr. Miracle back and forth or whatever, but it did. Batman sort of reminded me of Orion.
It's comparable. It's Mitch Gerads and Tom King. It's comparable.
Yeah, but Batman reminded me a little bit of Orion in Mr. Miracle, like in his facial expressions, that kind of haughty nature and like being put into his play. I mean, different degrees. Like Orion gets
for sure different degrees
smacked around a lot and like lampooned to a higher degree. But I don't know. I got a little bit of Orion from Mr. Miracle vibes out of Batman in this one.
It's interesting. Yeah, it was a different Batman than you're used to seeing. You kind of, I mean, again, Tom King does a really good job with the character work, and he takes these superheroes that are mythic and kind of does give you these very human moments with them, where you kind of can see Batman being insecure that he's not the smartest person in the room for like the first time in his life, probably. So yeah, he's not in it a lot, but the scenes he is in it are quite memorable.
And one other topic I wanted to bring up, still like a macro zoomed out thing to talk about, but I read I think it was Entertainment Weekly Online or some thing of that nature, where Tom King did an interview and he talked about how the past kind of few years of COVID times the 2020 election informed Strange Adventures, and especially in terms of the idea of like what the truth is and like what it's comfortable to know the truth and when it's more comfortable to believe in a myth over the truth and picking your own truth to believe, those kinds of themes. So I figured we could talk about that in the context of Strange Adventures, since it's something Tom King himself brought up in an interview. In general, I mean, I think a lot of it's pretty apparent in the, in Strange Adventures, like presents this myth of Adam Strange that he and Alana authored, like as part of his memoir, quote unquote, book that they're advertising like at the beginning of the series as, which kind of starts the whole action because he murders a guy at a book signing.
Yeah.
But this idea that like the book signing is quote unquote fact, like this is my memoir of my being a hero in the war, and how that relates to what you find out actually happened. So, that's pretty clearly there. But later on in the series, like as Mr. Terrific gets closer and closer to the truth, he gets pushback from the Justice League, from the government on Earth, and he gets pushed back into sort of, Mr. Terrific, we don't want to know. Like Adam says he's a hero. We just wanted you to look into this and kind of prove that Adam did murder the guy. And so we can all move on with our lives and keep the status quo going. And Mr. Terrific's view of, well, no, the truth is more sinister. But yeah, again, I don't have more to add, but it's that kind of idea of trying to bring to light an uncomfortable truth and how that fits into people's reception of
I think,
and like what's more comfortable.
I think
to know
that's
the
played
lie or
out
the truth.
best. I think that's played out best in the letter episode or issue, like in issue 10 when she's reading the letter from Mr. Terrific, and like so she's being confronted with the truth that Adam's been lying to her all this time. Meanwhile, every scene is depicting her like receiving a little pin or a medal or something, and like taking selfies with soldiers, and like she's spending the whole issue like glad handing and stuff, while this like the letter from Mr. Terrific is kind of playing over it. So you can tell like that's what she's thinking about the entire time, and she's being confronted with the truth that like Adam's been lying to her this entire time. And it just culminates in the end of the issue when she's like, she punches the mirror and she's like fucking upset and about to go confront Adam in the next issue. But like that whole issue is so fucking raw and powerful to me, because it just juxtaposes her like being confronted with the truth that she's known is true probably the whole time, because she's not an idiot. So like Mr. Terrific just needed to be like, I think you need to know the truth, and here it is, and spells it out for her like on a page where she can't like crumple it up and throw it in the corner anymore. Like she has to like read this and go, fuck, he's not wrong, like kind of thing. Like, and I think that's that turning point for that character, like confronting the truth and like learning about what's going on. There's also, and I kind of wanted to bring this on the note of truth. Like I wanted to bring this one panel up because it's like the only fucking time it happens, and it makes every panel that Evan Doc Shaner drew, like you question every panel because it's the one panel that's like not finished. So they're flying, and it's like, it's kind of around the time that Mr. Terrific is saying something like, well, the fact that you guys won is like insane and shouldn't have happened and like clearly was false, and they let you win. And like the panel right above that is like Doc Shaner's panel, and it's something like, hey Adam, we're winning, and she's like shooting a gun, but Adam isn't like fully drawn, and he's like not colored, and it's pencil lines and it's blue lines, like as in the comic book isn't finished on that one panel. And it just kind of makes you go like, holy fuck, is every single panel that I've been reading from Doc Shaner's perspective, like Doc Shaner true, like from the perspective of quote unquote the past, like the war, like not true, and just like the book that she wrote, that's like not the truth. So like, and I think that's what that's implying. And if so, fucking insane, because it just like has ramifications for the whole fucking thing you're reading, because you're like, Jesus Christ, I've been reading every single panel of this, accepting it as truth. And then at the end of the day, it's when Alana is confronted with the truth that Adam's been lying to her, that immediately fades into like an unfinished panel. And that's not real.
Plus one, another thing I want to add to that to kind of support that is if you read the very last issue, towards the end, so far, Shaner's been doing the Rand past stuff, and Mitch Gerads has been doing the present on Earth. And a really cool thing about that last issue is like the last few pages, they kind of swap. And Mitch Gerads is doing panels on spaceships and things happening in space. And
it's still the
Shaner's
present time.
Pied has caught up to Earth, right? So they're kind of Shaner's art.
They're getting closer to the same point in time for sure. Yeah,
right. So I thought that was kind of an interesting swap, but still at the same time, Shaner's last panels are Adam and Alana writing the book, and they end with Alana saying like, look, they're buying the book. It's time for your signing. So going back to the point you were making, Joe, I think that further points that like Shaner's aesthetic visual arc ends with the book being published.
Right.
Is another hint at like what we've been showing you is them writing this book the whole time.
Is them writing the history. Yeah. Like that's
right.
not,
we haven't been
like,
showing
so, like,
you
every
this
panel
hasn't been
that
the
Shaner,
documentary. Yeah.
Right. Yes. That we think it is. Yeah. So like every panel that Shaner drew is just like this false narrative of like, this is what happened on Ron. And they like the story they told us that Adam's this big hero. And yeah, I'm sure there is truth to it. Obviously, there's like there's many scenes where like
Shaner
he's tortured and the Deadeye scene, like and like
yeah.
all this stuff. Like, I mean, obviously that they're not saying like none of this happened. They're just saying like this is the version of the truth that they're showing us versus like the Mitch Gerads areas are like what's actually happening kind of thing, or just unbiased. I would say. Perspective.
Yeah, but I do like that Shaner's last few pages are about them finishing the book and doing it and really showing like all we've been showing you is them writing the book. It's not a documentary of what happened on Rand. I mean, like you said, some of it's true, but I just like that kind of little wink subversion to like, maybe you should wonder what you've seen so far.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's kind of sort of related to that, but just talking about how you were saying earlier, behind every great man is a, better woman, or what the expression is. Like Alana literally wrote his biography.
Yeah, I know. That's another thing. It's like, wow, you had your wife ghost write your fucking adventures on Ron. You couldn't even write it.
I mean, one thing I want to bring up is in both last episode and this one, without a doubt, the character we've talked about the least is Adam Strange. Which is fascinating because this is Strange Adventures about him. He is the hero of two worlds. If we want to
shift gears into like quick bullet points or like notes on what happened in each issue real quick, and like I wouldn't mind talking about Adam Strange a bit because like there's definitely he's the least interesting of the characters, but he's also he's a huge part of the series. Like it's not like he's not there. We just find these other like more subtle characters more fascinating, and that's why we're kind of like delving on them. But like,
well, the
psychological torture and the fact that he's like broken, and like the scene later on when he's with Superman and he's like I begged you. He's like screaming at him, like I begged for your help. Like you did this to me. Like I'm this person because you wouldn't come help me when I asked for your help. Like kind of thing. Like He asked Green Lantern. He asked like all the heroes of Earth to try to come help him. Like he was begging them to come help him. And then later on, he gets captured and he goes through all this horrible shit. And like, you can't. The guy talking to him during the torture issue was fucking horrifying. Like he was just like, dude, it's only been 7 days. How many times have you died? Like kind of, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, that would fucking break anyone. Like, let alone Adam Strange, like who's just a dude from Earth who has a jetpack.
Well, so I do want to add to that, because what I think is fascinating is, again, we've gravitated towards Mr. Terrific and Alana and talked a lot about them. And if you look at this comic and you want to point out, well, who's a superhero in this comic? The two of them, like they're both beautiful, intelligent, kept some sense of purity and strength of purpose in a harsh world. Like they are the superheroes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Adam Strange is the one who is us. Like
he's also the arc of like, if he was a superhero, and that can be debated, but if he was, like, it's the arc of like the destruction of a superhero. Like, let's strip away every single thing we can from this guy to make him less and less heroic as the book goes on. Meanwhile, the Doc Shaner panels are portraying him as a hero, and although that as you get further into the series, it's more portraying war crimes and horrible genocide, but that aside, like you still see like what he thinks of as heroic, and then in reality, like you're just ripping him apart from day one, like every single piece. And like for him to be like basically a POW and then be released, and after all that torture and shit, and then this like the scenes with his daughter fuck me up, because I hey, side note, I have a daughter for the viewers that don't know, but like it's just, that fucking shit, that triggers me is the worst word to use, but I mean, like, I empathize with that like 1000%, because like using that your child as like a thing that he's willing to be like, I guess, like, I was fully convinced that he had like had his daughter killed, like even up until almost the point where when Mr. Terrific was like, I think your daughter's alive. And she's like, what? And like way earlier on, I was like, God damn it, she better be, because if she's not, I'm gonna, like, that's, God damn it. I mean, like, even everything he did aside, like if that had been true, I would have probably like irredeemable villain, to me.
No, they did a very good job of, you want to see Adam Strange brought to justice at the end, but you also like his anger is definitely justified, and you don't hate him, you understand him.
Yeah. I mean, like, so
well, he's a tragic. I mean, he's definitely a tragic figure.
Yeah.
You don't think like, oh, what a piece of. Well, he is a little bit of a piece of shit, but there is a tiny bit.
But again, like once you hit that torture moment, like, no, everything's off the table after that. Like nothing he does after that is really him anymore. He was destroyed and broken 100,000 times over. Like you can't, like, even psychologically, he's not himself anymore. Nothing, giving his daughter up to them, sacrificing Earth for Ron, like none of those decisions were his anymore. That was just them being like, this is what we want from you. And he's like, whatever, I'll give you anything. Yeah. It's spelled out with how the guy's talking to him,
Like every scene that Doc Shaner draws of Adam Strange up to like the end, Adam Strange is either, fighting for his life or being tortured or begging his superhero friends to help him save his family. Yeah. Like the guy he's put through it, and even giving his daughter away, that is irredeemable. But at the same time, you see when he's being tortured, the torture device they use on him, if you haven't read these issues, he's basically transported to like these different realities where he goes through something really horrendous. Like sometimes he's just in space, sometimes he's out on the surface of the sun. But there's a few scenarios where he thinks he's rescued and he sees
that was the worst. That one was the worst.
And he thinks
and they point that out in that scene, like even in the writing, like he gets back from that one where he sees his daughter and his wife and he thinks he's like free. And then he screams when he realizes he's not. And the guy like torturing him was like, oh shit, I thought we were done with screams. That was weeks ago. You haven't screamed in a while. You know, like kind of thing. And he's like, what was that one? And he's like interested in just to see what it is. Cause he's literally like, this machine's set on random. I don't know what you saw. Like what happened? You know, like, was it this? Was it that? You know, kind of thing. And then you're like, Jesus Christ, that's so fucked up on so many levels.
Another parallel to Mr. Miracle that I just thought of now, though, is like Mr. Miracle, we don't really know if he's in reality or not. You know, that was a big thing, but he still was like, this is my family.
No, well, we know he's not.
Yeah, but we don't know where he is exactly. But anyways, in Strange Adventures, if he's gone through scenarios like that, I mean, his brain's probably so fried that he doesn't probably believe that the main universe might be his universe. So he's like, whatever, take my
That's
daughter.
what I'm saying. Like you do that so many times to somebody, like there's a good chance that like when he is finally freed, he's just waiting to wake up in the torture chair again. Like none of it matters anymore. None of it's real. You know, like
well, I mean, so to expand a little bit on the earlier I brought up the parallels with Mr. Miracle. I mean, one thing is I wanted to talk about how so Scott and Adam kind of go opposite directions. And if you put aside, all right, so Scott, it was probably all in his head, like he's in limbo, dying. I mean, it was real to him. So let's just kind of take both plot lines as being true.
Oh, sure.
For the purpose of this. But so Scott's journey is more kind of to get himself through the horrors of war. He focuses on family and building family. And that is what gives him hope to get through war. And we see Adam do sort of the opposite and like give himself up to the horrors of war and becoming a monster to succeed in war and giving up on family.
Hold on, no.
And giving up on humanity.
So I disagree. So not just to succeed in war. He succumbs to being a monster to ultimately to protect Alana and Aaliyah, like, and the rest of the people of Iran, who are their families and their people. Like, he basically chooses Ron over Earth, including his wife and child. So, like, it's not that I think it's a little less evil than going like, I'm going to succumb to war just to become a monster. Like, despite my family, I think he becomes a monster for his family. You know, like to protect them from like the tragedy that he's already going through. And
all right, well, let me
again, not to make
that.
him like a redeemable character, because he's kind of not, but like there are aspects of that torture, and there are like the psychology behind that amount of torture, and like what he's ultimately deciding to do in the end. I hesitate to say it's justified, but at the same time, it's like I would do anything for my wife and daughter. Like I would fucking murder
Joe,
1,000 people.
Let me
you know, like, so it's like, you know, I don't know.
Basically what I'm trying to say is Adam sits down at the chess table and Scott just walks from the chess table.
Yes, he flips the table upside down. Yeah, yeah.
And right. And the child bartering is sort of like, I think sort of symbolizes that, because Scott just says, well, I'm done. I mean, you know, you're asking for my kid, like I'm stepping away from the table, we're done. Whereas Adam's answer is, oh, well, giving up my child helps me score checkmate and protect my family. You know, fine, I'll do that. I'll play by your rules to achieve the goal. And Scott shoots Darkseid in the face.
I mean, I keep bringing up the torture thing as like this like level of making Adam like redeemable or at least understandable of like where he's coming from. But like as we talked about in Mr. Miracle, Scott was tortured for God knows how long on what the fuck's it called? I was gonna say New Genesis. I was like, that's not right.
I mean, he was also mentally tortured on New Genesis.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, there you go. So he was kind of fucked up. He's as fucked up as Adam, I guess is what I'm saying. So like,
no, definitely,
it doesn't make it any better. Like, yeah, I guess. I don't know. Like,
I mean, that's what I meant, is just that their journeys to me just seemed opposite. One is a journey from the bottom to finding hope and a reason. And Adam's is the opposite. Like he had a hope. He had hope. He had reason. He was a hero of two worlds, like family, everything. And from there, he descended into tragedy and wartime and pain. And Scott did the opposite.
There are so many fucking parallels between these two books, because Mr. Miracle is also of two worlds. Like, did they Did they mean to
Huh.
keep the characters so similar, or is this just?
I
all
don't think so. I mean, maybe
wonder
it's
if
just a thematic like element that Tom King gravitates towards, maybe, or something. Like, like maybe he's just like, hey, can I play with these characters? And they're like, and DC's like, yeah, sure, why not? And then he's like, what about these characters? I like them too, like, and like they're just fringe characters. So like DC's like, yeah, sure, why not? Maybe it's just like something he likes to write about and he finds fascinating, and it's a good way to tell a story.
It could be, but it might be both. Like it might be that he intentionally meant to make some parallels, and then some of it might just be his writing style and characters he likes to build that kind of are similar in that way.
But before we move on, I just keep forgetting this one point with how Alessandro spoke to earlier about where Tom King's head was at when he was writing this, how it was going.
Yeah.
And all that. And I think a lot of us are still obviously feeling the burden of the pandemic and politics. It just keeps getting nastier and nastier to the point where I can't really take looking at Twitter anymore. Like even I'm trying to cultivate my social media where I only see comic book and anime stuff. You're sure? I can't avoid it. My point is I can't handle looking at it anymore when it comes to my phone.
Yeah.
When the guy that is torturing Adam Strange, he's also a prisoner of the Pict, and he was on a neighboring planet of Ran that got conquered first. And he goes on this rant while he's torturing Adam. And it just made me think of how my relationship is with social media. And he's talking to Adam. This is the torturer. I mean, I just wanted to die. You want to die, right? You get it. I was just like, just let me do it and kill me. And then they told me, and I was like, great, whatever, let's do it. And I feel like that's where everyone's at. They're just like, tell us what you need us to fucking do to act like fucking adults so we're not so goddamn stressed out all the time.
Also, but on a related note, like that translates into what Adam does. Like when he gets out, like, and kills that dude. First of all, that's what that dude wanted. That was his reward, to die. Like they were giving, the Picts were like, hey, we put you through ungodly amounts of torture. And you know how we finally let you die? Torture this guy. Like, and that's what he's doing the whole time. He's not a fucking like torturer. He's just some guy that had been tortured before. And he was like, oh, dude, I've been what you went through. It's the fucking worst. Just give in. It's not like, and like, but in the ultimate end of the thing, and he says it like 3 or 4 times, I think. He's just like, I just want to fucking die. I don't care kind of thing. And then the end when Adam Strange like does kill him and snaps his neck and it's like, I'm the hero of 2 worlds. And you're just like, holy shit, you've lost it. That dude just got his reward. And that's the fucked up part about it. Cause you're just like, you just tortured this man so you could die. Like,
Patrick, like, to
fucking insane.
To build on your point, the torture machine itself on a literal sense was kind of like social media, because if you think about people's anxiety and kind of exasperation with social media, it's the bombardment of this news reality. Russia's going into Ukraine and it's terrible. Biden's son did this. Trump's son did this. Like all these different competing realities with what the truth is, and the speed with which your brain is bombarded with them.
Yeah.
And it becomes like too much to handle and anxiety inducing. And that's kind of, I mean, this device is a very personal sort of, very personal kind of like reality bombardment. Yeah. But it's that same idea of like, here's a new reality, different fact, scary fact, weird opinion, it's like bombarding you. And so I just thought that was interesting because it kind of is what social media is doing, is what this device is doing. Can I rapidly shift topics?
Sure.
So one thing I really want to talk about is the pervy content in issue 10. So half of issue 10 is Alana showering and like on the toilet pissing. Like, what is up with that? I don't have anything to add. I just wanted to ask, what is up with that? It's pervy.
Again, I think it's literally just like, let's watch Alana wake up, go through her day of like whatever she's doing. And a lot of that is also like I said earlier, like glad handing politicians and taking selfies with soldiers and like whatever the fuck else they're showing her do. But like, everyone has to shower, Al. Plus, I mean,
yes,
Mitch Gerads clearly drew her as Olivia Munn, and who doesn't want to watch Olivia Munn shower?
or take a piss. Apparently, I don't know. It just seemed a little pervy.
I think you're on the right. I think you're on the right page, and she's taking a shit because, like, let's put it this way: if you're sitting on the toilet and you're playing with your phone, are you taking? I
guess it's shitting. No, I guess you're shitting.
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
You don't play. I don't play with my phone, and if I'm sitting on the toilet and I'm just taking a piss, I'm done in 30 seconds. If I'm sitting on the toilet and I'm looking at my phone, I'm taking a shit. Alana's definitely taking a shit.
I guess Olivia Munn needs to shit too. I guess we learned.
I mean, yeah, everyone needs to shit. You know?
I also want to talk about one of the covers before these issues.
Yeah, I think you're talking about issue 6 with Alana's looking really thick on the cover.
Wait, what? Looking thick?
She looks thick with 2 C's.
Wait.
What cover does she look thick in? Are you kidding me? She is fit. She's fit.
No, Patrick. I mean thick, like in a good way, you dum-dums.
No, I'm following you. I just don't know which cover it is.
Wait, issue 6.
Well, issue 10 is her wiping the mirror.
Is issue 6 where like her butt is towards the viewer and she's okay. Like, she does not look thick. She looks like she weighs 120 pounds in that. She does not look thick.
Do you not know what thick means, Al? What's wrong with you?
Thick with 2 C's is still thick enough to where you're above 120, guys.
It's about proportion.
We're talking about
I know
the visual medium.
Thank you,
cover,
Patty.
Right?
Issue 5.
5.
Oh, 5. Okay.
I just want to say, how many times have you
We're going back to issue 5.
How many times have you ever seen a woman stand like this? Like
so often. Are you kidding? Like every time my wife gets dressed in the morning, she's like,
This is a Hawkeye Initiative cover where I want to see a man in that pose.
I'm just going out on a limb here. I mean, I know you held the picture up for me, but like no one else knows that. But also, I wasn't really looking. But I flipped back to it myself, and Patty's right, and you're wrong.
That's not a thick woman. That's a skinny.
It is framed so that the focus of the picture is her butt.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Yep.
That doesn't make her having a butt doesn't mean you're thick.
Oh my God.
By the way, let's get so getting back on the issues we're actually fucking talking
anyway,
about.
I just wanted to make the point that is not a natural pose that anyone's ever stood in. And so Mitch Gerads do better.
Urban Dictionary defines thick as the appearance of a very seductive female with a large ass. In most cases, the woman will have a pair of large thighs.
Okay, that's
not a large thigh, large ass leggings picture with a baggier white shirt on.
No. Disagree.
Anyway,
I'm in Patty's corner.
We've been very macro. Should we do issue by issue? I mean, I took notes issue by issue.
No, we don't. One last point I want to make.
No, I want to do issue by issue in the sense of like let's hit notes real fast.
Yeah. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go through.
I have a thing with issue 7.
Rapid fire. Go. Lightning round. Go.
Shut your fucking mouth.
Go.
Shut your fucking mouth. During the torture issue 7, I fucking love that panel where it's just horrible torture for God knows how long. And then he's essentially giving up. And he's basically saying, just give up. It'll be freeing. And then it cuts to like Army Hammer fucking Mitch Gerads. I said Gerads version of Adam Strange sitting there. And then like Alana's just like, long day. And he's just like, and you're just like, Jesus fucking Christ. It's so like, it turns that whole like, he's been going through absolute fucking hell. And then you fast forward to where he's at modern time. And you're just like, God damn, that highlights that so fucking succinctly and horribly. And then he just says, you have no idea. And I just fucking like, that's so crazy fucking good.
All right. Moving on. Rapid fire. Next Strange Adventure stuff.
Okay. We didn't mention this, but the Pict destroy Phoenix, Arizona. We may have mentioned it.
I want to talk about that. That's issue 8. Yeah. Let's talk about it.
A quick note to the Picts. Thank you. Fuck Arizona and their voting. Fuck Arizona and their exclusionary voting.
Phoenix or Phoenix?
The Flash counting the bodies was pretty chilling.
Yeah. Fucked up. Also, Batman's like, Flash, where are you? Get to Phoenix right now. There's a hole in like the defense. And Flash is like, it's going to be like, I mean, you say now and I can get there fast, but like, it's going to be like 3 seconds or however long it actually takes him to get there. And even in that 3 fucking seconds or however like 10 seconds it takes Flash to get from like Russia to Phoenix, Batman's like, yeah, no, I don't need you there to save people. I need you there to like pick through the bodies and find if there's any survivors. And then it just cuts to this fucking scene. It's like a 2-page spread of like just lightning whirlwind around this devastating hole in the ground where Flash is like, all I can do is count. And I was like, holy fuck, that is so fucking terrifyingly horrible. Wow. And then you're juxtaposing that with Doc Shaner's fucking panels, and it's right when Adam Strange has like been released / escaped from captivity, and he's just sitting in a fucking like pool while Alana like scrubs his back, and she's like, hey, you can talk about it if you want. He's like, you can ask me anything you want, I don't care, that's good, I'm not worried about it, you know, like, and you're just like, holy fuck, what, that this is not serious, and or this is super serious rather. And she's like, this war is everything, all that means, this war doesn't mean anything, like all that means is anything is just you and me and Alana or Aaliyah, and like that's all that matters, it's just us. And he's like, of course. I know that, thank you, it's very nice of you, I don't mean to worry you, you shouldn't worry, I'm fine. And you're just like, holy fuck, and he's just like dead-eyed the whole time. It's horrifying. Anyway, goddamn. Episode 8, wait, hold on. Episode 8 ends with argument with like him and Alana, and he's freshly back from captivity. He's like, I'm just trying to fucking win this war. And she's like, I just want you to say hi to your daughter. Like she missed you. She, you know, like kind of thing. And it's very fucked up. And like the thing that stands out to me is one, how realistic this argument is between man and wife, because I've had these arguments. Not about the life of our daughter, but you know what I mean. but like, you know, like you've had an argument and you just go like, he said something. I don't know what he said, but he said something in that argument. I was like, oh, I've done that. Like I've just completely ignored what she said and said something stupider instead. Like that's horribly realistic and I hate it. But also he's just avoiding spending time with his daughter because he already knows the decision he's made, and it's fucked up. And at the end of the issue, when he like walks off with his daughter to go camping, it's even worse because she's like, I love you, daddy. And he's like, I love you too, daughter. You know, and you're just like, God damn it, this is not going to end well. And that's when I was like, if he actually killed his daughter or had his daughter killed to like save Ron, I'm going to lose my shit. So like, that was that pivotal moment in the series where you didn't know she was quite alive yet because we hadn't gotten to the letter from, you know, Mr. Terrific, where he's like convinced she's alive. We hadn't gotten to the point where Alana's confronting the truth that he's been lying to her the whole time. Like we've just seen this like hints that he's fucked up, and then these hints that he did something or was heavily involved in the disappearance and or murder of his daughter. And I was like, oh my God, if it's murder and not disappearance, I'm gonna be very upset here.
Definitely. I do want to say, Joe, just to call you out earlier, you said man and wife, which implies that man is man and woman is not, unless she is a wife. So she can only exist in relation to
husband
man.
And wife.
So please check yourself. Either husband or wife or man and woman is all.
Al,
or actually, even that's pretty gender
So
binary.
I identify as a man, Al, and I was speaking from my own perspective, which
I'd use person
and
person. Just say person and person moving forward to be most inclusive.
I feel like we didn't really talk about, if the listeners care, if you haven't read it, like Adam Strange pretty much.
They're viewers.
Are they viewers? I don't know. I only have like one other big note that I want to talk about, but I don't know if y'all had any other rapid fire notes.
Episode 8 was, or issue. God, I have to say, we cannot say episode and issue right, or arc. Issue 8 was like the big one where I was just like, holy shit. You know, like that, but there's a lot more. Like issue 9 has the fucking gas chamber and a mass burial. And that was what theoretically they included in the book because it's a Doc Shaner series of events. Yeah. So you're like, you wrote that in a biography?
Well, Patrick, go ahead and Patrick, what was that?
What's your big note?
Let's go. My first read through, again, I was very anxious to see what was going to happen at the end. And on the second read through, I was really perplexed with Alana's behavior when Mr. Terrific. So they go get her daughter and they're going back to Earth. Mr. Terrific says,
"Yeah, let's break down the ending. Go ahead."
Mr. Terrific's asking what Alana's plans are, and she says she's going back to Ran, and he goes, "Oh, your daughter Leah's gonna love to be back home," and she's like, "Oh no, she's staying on Earth." And Mr. Terrific says, "Who's taking care of her?" And she's like, "You are." So
Oh
here's
yeah.
because my first read through, I'm like, she's acting like the lunatic because he goes, "Why would I take care of her?" And she said, "If you hadn't interfered in like my husband's life, I would have never found out the truth. He wouldn't have been killed, and we would have gotten the daughter back, and we would have been a happy family. My husband's dead because of you. My family's destroyed because of you. So you got to take care of my daughter," which is nonsense logic. It's fucking insane.
It's logical, but it's fucking insane.
My point with this though is that Mr. Terrific has that reaction. He's like, "You're spinning this. It's insane," and then she kind of checks herself and has a more empathetic response, saying that like she was completely blinded by Adam. This is all her fault. Her daughter's not safe with her, because she was so blinded by love. She's created this, like, then she's like taking the blame on herself, kind of. And I'm like, it's kind of fucking with my head because I'm like, is Alana? We've already established that she can she's a master manipulator. And I'm like, is she fucking with Mr. Terrific right now and trying different strategies to break him down? Or is she just literally
yes and no.
Who killed her husband 4 hours ago, is now going to get her daughter who thinks that was dead for years. And now she's also taken the fact that, like, as you said, she's now got this burden where she's got to go back to fucking Ran and she's got to fight a war against the pig because she's the prince.
I think that's the main motivation on her side to do that. I think she started out doing it the wrong way, and then when he confronted her with that, she was like, "Oh, you're right. Again, I'm wrong. Like, let me refocus. What I'm trying to say is, you're the only human being that defeated the Picts.
Yeah.
So she's only safe with you. Like, I only trust her with you, and I." Unfortunately have a larger responsibility, not larger than your own daughter, but equivalent responsibility to the people of an entire planet, which they will definitely take revenge upon because their fucking dumbass plan with Adam Strange didn't work out. And therefore I now have to go defend that planet again. And I don't want her anywhere near that shit, and that's the part where I'm like, okay, less crazy, because I read it the same way you did, Patty, the first time. I was like, what the fuck? What is this reasoning? That makes no sense. Also, again, I completely lost the she's now the hero of two worlds thing that they were trying to do at the end. And upon a second read, it's when you go, oh shit, I see what they're doing here. That was, my own short-sightedness, or maybe I found that first version of her scenario so abhorrent that I was like, what the fuck? And I kind of got blinded to the second half of it.
Well, I read it also as, not that this is mutually exclusive with what you all said, but part of what I read from what Alana was saying is the nuance also of kind of coming to grips with the shame involved, because she had blinded herself to her daughter's true condition for however long, and then killed her daughter's father. And I think that's a lot to deal with on a human level. Mm-hmm. And to be with your daughter every day and raise her as if nothing happened when those things I just mentioned also happened. I think maybe she just, there's a level of shame and processing that I think she just also has to go through short term before she feels like she could.
There's 100%. I mean, even when even when they do rescue Aaliyah, first of all, it's adorable how Aaliyah is immediately I think you're a nice man. I like you, to Mr. Terrific. But also what's on your face, mommy? And she's like, oh, it's blood, but it's not mine. Don't worry. And stuff like that. And you're just like, God damn, this little kid has been through God knows what. And you're adding on top of all these weird little scenes. But also in the Doc Shaner bits towards the end, you see her and Adam just kill some random monster on Ron or something. And Adam's like, is this all it's going to be? We're just going to go right back to this, just sci-fi monsters and flying around and being stupid. And he's like, I've been thinking about going to Earth. He wants to go live on Earth, kind of thing. And she's just like, yeah, but these are my people. I can't just leave, and I think that's also weighing on her, at the end of the book, when she's is talking to Mr. Terrific.
When also,
being there for her
I
daughter.
think the first read through, I thought her behavior was so ridiculous because we didn't talk about it at the end of issue 11. At climax is where Alana confronts Adam on his lies. He pulls a gun on her. There's a struggle, and she ends up killing Adam Strange. That's how issue 11 ends.
That was another unforgivable moment too. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that issue, the art, Mitch Gerads art in that, I mean, some of them, I mean, the image of her turning around, seeing Adam Strange with the gun pulled on her, like very cool because it's very modern kitchen, I think, but he's wearing like that very, retro spacesuit.
Ridiculous spacesuit. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting. But anyways, so we wait a whole month for issue 12 to come out, and it starts with her and Mr. Terrific on a spaceship going to get her daughter. So in my head, I'm kind of thinking that it's been a few weeks.
Like, where's the fallout from the murder? Yeah.
It's also probably been a few hours. Like the first phone call she made after killing her husband was probably Mr. Terrific being like, my fucking daughter's alive. She's on this fucking spaceship. We're going there right now.
Yeah.
It's been like a few hours since she probably hasn't even processed that she killed her husband.
I wouldn't have waited 5 fucking minutes. Let's put it that way. Like, so, I mean, like, it's probably
the other crazy thing is, so Adam Strange dies in this. I don't think we've really talked about it.
Yeah,
he's dead.
That's another big
he's
fucking thing.
Dead.
Like, I mean, we did very briefly mention a death at the beginning of the episode, but yeah, we're talking about Adam Strange. He did die. Like, it was kind of like that. That also is kind of fucked up and crazy. Like, are you like? I know this is DC Black Label, and I'm not 100% certain what that means. Like, is it continuity? I don't know. I think it is, but I also think it means like they're just hardcore comics and like they're gonna have death and fucking horrible shit going on and like, Alana sitting on a toilet, Yeah. But like, but I just don't like, I don't know if that's what that means. Like, it means R-rated for comics for DC and it is continuity, or is that like mean it's like outside the fold somehow and like Adam Strange is going to be like hanging out with fucking Superman like 2 issues from now, and I
think DC Black Label overall is kind of like the same concept of that Marvel Knights line, where it was the grittier superheroes, and overall Marvel kind of picked and chose what they wanted to pull from those storylines into the main continuity. Daredevil being exposed as Matt Murdock was part of the mainstream continuity, but a lot of the other stuff that would happen in his run, because it was just too brutal, would not ever be brought up.
Yeah.
And that's what I think they're doing with this, but we'll see.
I mean, to my understanding, Black Label just means like R-rated and like, as in like, watch out kids, don't read this one, kind of thing. So I think it's just regular continuity, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah, either way, I think maybe it's time to wrap towards an end.
All right.
Ending.
That is.
I did one point I wanted to make that we haven't made yet on.
Did you just ask us to wrap it up and then say one point I needed to make?
Yeah, I did. That's my fault. I'm sorry. Before we wrap up, so one point we talked about off podcast about Doc Shaner's art.
Yeah.
Just wanted to put that I did. I just wanted to say that I appreciated it. As we mentioned off podcast, I thought there was a sort of an all-star Superman, Frank Quitely esque feel to it, like kind of an innocent purity, like golden age. Well, I guess Silver Age of comics, but like sci-fi, Flash Gordon age kind of feel to his art. Especially something about like the posture of his characters felt kind of Frank Quitely-esque. But anyway, I thought it worked for that kind of flashback, Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, sci-fi feel, kind of art. And again, I liked that last issue, those last few pages where Gerads' realism shifted to like spaceship scenes, and Shaner's art shifted to Earth scenes of Alana and Adam writing the story. I just thought was a cool kind of flip of that more Silver Agey kind of optimistic, purist comic style ending as kind of describing things happening on Earth, and Gerads' gritty hyper-realist style ending up like in space. I just thought it was kind of a cool flip there, like aesthetically.
I also like the
twist
complete like the complete mirror of like Mitch Gerads had I said Jur again. God damn it. Mitch Gerads. Having drawn the first issue of like, hi, I'm Adam. Can I sign a book for you? And like the last panel is Evan Doc Shaner drawing, basically the same panel. And I was like, that's kind of awesome. Just bringing it around full circle.
That's a good framing device. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted to make a quick
it's almost like the two converging timelines converge at some point.
Yep. Anyway, just wanted to make a quick little art note before we ended the podcast. Any other? You
mean you wanted to make a quick note about how we should end the podcast and then make a quick note about the artwork after you yelled at us for ending the podcast?
Yeah. Well, just to piggyback off of
there's no pleasing Joe.
I will say, Doc.
Let's finish this podcast. Never mind. I have a note.
Nothing we'll say will make Joe happy.
Patty, just let us argue a little bit. It's fine.
Joe will criticize anything we say. Sorry, go ahead, Patrick. No. I was just singing the Ballad of Joe. What's that? Repeat the fuck you, I hate everything you said.
Patty has been patiently waiting to speak.
Sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
Doc Shaner, great artist. I agree. I really enjoyed one of his last scenes where they go to negotiate with the owl people that live in the wilderness of
God, we didn't even talk about that, but yeah, I love
those character designs for those owl creatures are the creepiest fucking
terrifying. Terrifying.
And
yeah, they were really creepy. They were horrifying.
Their little hands coming out and having way too many fingers and being like, oh, we're talking like this, and like Alana's translating the whole time. I was like, oh, this is fucked up.
And also, they look like owls, but they have these little arms that come out of the feathers or fur. And Alana goes, oh, they're gonna give us a ride to like where the last picks are, and you think that they're gonna fly like owls, but they just fucking
run.
like insects. Like if he those characters from front to
Insect
back.
Owl Man. Hey, that's a quick note. Just as an overall note, real fast. I really liked all the different like my impression of like Ron in the past DC universe has always just been like random humans living on a random planet, and it's sci-fi, and that's all Adam Strange ever was. But like that quick, like they do it throughout the series, but like those quick little instances of like Adam Strange, like I'm going to talk to the underwater people. I'm going to talk to the rock people. I'm going to talk to the bird people in the snow mountains. So, like all those like weird little like instances of him gathering up like the different cultures of Ron to like fight against the Picts was fucking fascinating. It's not something that like I ever knew or thought of Ron, but at the same time, really awesome addition to that like culture. And they even fucking made a map of Ron at that one issue. Like when you open up the front, it's like, it looks like a fantasy map in a fucking fantasy novel. It's like amazing. It was super cool. Weird little dive in deep of like what Ron is. And then at the same time, completely unimportant because there's so much good characterization going on that you're just like, this all falls by the wayside. I don't have to mention this on the podcast, but like, I do want to mention it. Just fucking good. Like that's how good Tom King is. It's just like these little things that he just throws out there. And you're like, but let's talk about Alana taking a shit, like, and just, the juxtaposition of the real world versus the fantasy is awesome.
I guess
I don't know if I was clear, but I do want to talk about Alana taking a shit.
Yeah, we figured out she's taking a shit.
Okay.
So
she's playing on her phone.
I take it y'all would recommend Strange Adventures by Tom King, art by Doc Shaner.
Oh yeah, my review is that I love it and I would recommend it. Didn't do that at the beginning.
Yeah, I would also recommend it. I thought it was great. I don't have anything to add other than what we've already said. I thought it was awesome. I also, if you haven't read it, definitely read Mr. Miracle and Strange Adventures. There's interesting parallels to both.
It was a nice adventure, as strange as it was.
Oh, wait. Before we end, sorry, I keep introducing new topics. Does this pass the Bechdel test? The Bechdel test? The Bechdel test?
Oh, we didn't do it.
The Bechdel test. So this is sort of the same as the last time. Fails the Bechdel test, but it passes the Makomori test because Alana has a character arc. But unfortunately,
you were arguing with us on the Makomori Alana.
Well, because I said it was TBD. I said it was TBD.
No, you were pretty adamantly no. She's one character to the next.
Well, for the first 6 issues, yes. But the last
and then me and Patty
issues,
are like, no, the seeds are there. She's definitely growing and changing.
Well, the
blah,
seeds
blah, blah.
ain't
And you're
the
like,
tree.
no.
The seeds are not the tree, brother. They're the seeds. So TBD.
Okay.
But the second half did pass the Makamori test, but it didn't pass the Bechdel test. So Tom King, let's do better next time. Let's have a scene where 2 women talk to each other about not a dick next time. How about that, Tom? Thank you. And then I think we've already talked about it, but the only person in this book that measures on the Snyder Zeus scale is Mr. Terrific. But I think we already addressed that.
We addressed that, yeah.
Last
but that scene where he's working out in front of Aaliyah, that sells it though, you know?
That is the podcast for this week. We'll see you in 2 weeks for the next episode of The Mobius Couch.